I have thoroughly enjoyed the Ricky Gervais salt mine that has been going on. I haven't had a chance to watch the full special. I've only seen the clips that have been out online, which is a shame, but then I don't pay for Netflix, so it's not really a surprise. But I thought we'd just go through some of the salt that has been bursting out of this story and enjoy it. So we'll start off with Posie Parker's interview, of course, being the thing I'll promote today, of course being relevant to the fact that Ricky Gervais is also a fellow woman believer. Believes women exist.
How far we have fallen.
Yeah. If we go to the next one here, we can start off with the media assault, and it's endless. So we have this one from The Independent, Ricky Gervais' Supernature Review. As it is all too frequent these days, the longest riff is reserved for the humiliation of trans people. 2 stars. I don't get that rating. Why 2 stars? Like, if you're of the opinion that he's some transphobic neo-Nazi, be like, 2 stars.
No, literally his jokes are causing violence to people. Still got a little giggle out of me. 2 stars.
Yeah, I just... what a weird response. But there we are. There's someone who's incredibly salty.
John and I examined some of the clips last week, and he's not making fun of trans people. He's making fun of trans activists.
Ideology.
So even by their own logic, it doesn't work.
But that's why it stings so hard for them, is it really does hurt their ideology. We got the next one here. We have the Huffington Post. Also very salty. Ricky Gervais slammed for dangerous jokes about transgender people in Netflix special. Dangerous jokes. Think about that statement. Dangerous words that are funny. There we are. Who are they dangerous to? Again, dangerous to ideology.
Do we know how the Huffington Post responded to cuties? I'd be very curious to see.
5 stars, presumably.
I bet.
If we go to the next one here, we have Vox, who are also very mad with Ricky Gervais' new special. Netflix yet again suffers transphobic fools. What do you mean fools? Oh yeah, everyone loved it. You're the one who were upset. Why are you upset? Oh, it's dangerous. Dangerous jokes.
Please tell me we've got the Rotten Tomatoes comparison.
We will get there.
Oh,
we go to the next one. We have Pink News, who are also very mad. Of course, Ricky Gervais' new Netflix special is nothing more than anti-trans garbage fire.
Oh, yeah. Feed me the salt. I love it. It's beautiful.
But this is what I mean. Just every headline, every newspaper, all controlled, all captured by the cathedral, all had to come out on the same day and be upset.
The funny thing is, I spoke to Blair White last week, and she was saying, oh yeah, Ricky Gervais is very supportive of me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he must hate trans people so much.
Yeah, just ideology. Just insane ideology that says women can have penises. Simple as that. If we go to the next one here, we then have The Guardian, other left-wing outlet, also very mad. Ricky Gervais' Netflix special, condemned by LGBTQ groups for anti-trans rants, masquerading as jokes. But that's the thing. That's the funny thing about the jester and his jokes, is that if they sting that hard, it's because there's truth in them. And if the truth is that your ideology is mad, then... yeah, you are the one everyone's laughing at.
Also, just to point out the hilarity of leftists complaining about people disguising rants as jokes. I mean, you've heard leftist comedians, right?
Yeah, it's unbearable. Yeah. But if we go to the next one, sorry, there's a quote in there from GLAAD. So US LGBT rights group GLAAD called it dangerous, and we call GLAAD retards. So we move to the next one, in which we also have Forbes. Forbes very upset. Ricky Gervais has become the man he used to mock. Oh no, what has he done? Watching Gervais cracking jokes about trans women being rapists and having penises, tilting like he's pushing an envelope, instead of repeating Facebook tier comments, reminded me of David Brent of The Office. I was like, yeah, but Brent's right. Like, if Brent was sat around making those jokes, but that's the thing. Like, the Facebook tier jokes are also haram, especially with you people, evidenced by the media response. And if we go to the next one here, it's just an unrelated story about how David Brent is totally right. Transgender murderer is caught having drunken sex with a female inmate at a prison. Yeah, so the rapist thing and the penis thing, I think David might have been right about that one. I think David might be the good boy in the story.
I'm curious, when it says drunken sex, is that... toning down the reality of the situation for the headline a little bit?
I think they might be.
Ooh.
If we go to the next one here, we have the other media assault, which is Ricky Gervais' Netflix special is nothing but cancel culture porn. No. Your reaction is the pornography.
I mean, you are trying to cancel him, so okay.
There is also that. You just can't do it because you suck at it. And if we get the last one here, we have someone else who was very upset, or at least they were upset in 2019. F. Ricky Gervais. Nish Kumar clip resurfaces after the comedian's controversial Netflix special. So this is a clip from 2019 of Nish Kumar being very salty at the idea that he's not funny and everyone else is. Why? Because they have to do just the simple thing of women don't have penises. And that's enough of a taboo in our society that breaking the taboo itself is funny, and Nish can't get that because he believes that it should be a taboo, of course. He says, as fans and critics discuss Supernature, many have shared a clip of Nish Kumar's 2019 show, It's Your Nature to Destroy Yourselves, Part 2, in which he name-checks Gervais and calls him out for, quote, deciding to S on the latest minority group. It's a funny way of phrasing it. It's just the latest group, as if it's a fad.
I also hate the way that they always refer to it as minority, as if being the minority inherently disadvantages them, whereas it's the fact of the matter is that the elites in society often are a minority group of their own of some form, obviously in the elite spheres. So that in and of itself disproves this idea that minorities are inherently at a disadvantage at all times.
I don't even read it that way. I read it as him saying, how dare you make fun of the latest aristocracy. I mean,
well, exactly.
Because you're in a minority, you're worth more. I mean, that's just how the argument goes. So the latest aristocrats are being made fun of. How dare they? Quote, guys, why is everyone so angry with trans people, he asks. What did they do? There's like 12 of them. Why is everyone so upset? Everyone's like, do you say he or she? I don't know. Ask. It's not an unsolvable conundrum. No, idiot. I do think genuinely he has no idea because Nish Kumar is, brain dead. But the evidence, of course, is that it's not about the 12 trans people who exist in the world. It's about the facts of the trans ideology and that you are compelled to deny reality for political correctness over factual correctness. That's the thing with political correctness. By definition, it's not true. Otherwise, it wouldn't be politically correct. It would just be correct. And yet Nish Kumar is surprised.
Technically correct, which is the best kind.
He continues, F. Ricky Gervais, F. Ricky Gervais. What's he...
What child.
Amazing
what
comedy.
Child.
I am much impressed with your stand-up. What he's doing isn't edgy or interesting. He is the same as every other rich white dude comedian who gets too successful, unlike Nish, runs out of ideas and decides to S on the latest minority group. In the 1970s, it was my effing family. Black and minority ethnic people. That's the wrong term. Yuckamagama, bro. We don't say that no more. In the 80s, it was gay people. Trans people are just the latest to get it in the neck from comedians who can't be bothered to try at their jobs anymore.
Well, if we're going to go by the trends that he's pointed out there, all of those people, I would say nowadays, are in a position of massive political power. So surely he's going to be excited to see what's going to happen in the trans community 30 years from now. They're going to be in charge.
I hate his disparaging of Ricky and his comedy. He's like, oh, they used to make fun of brown people and then gays and then trans. No, bro. All three at once, if you're a good comedian. I mean, that's what you're going to do, along with everyone else, of course. He continues, I cannot stand here and watch another dog-esque comedian go, if a woman can identify as a man, maybe I can identify as a chair. Why don't you identify as a good comedian, you hack mother effers?
Have you tried it, Nish?
Let's go to the next one. There's the result. There's the result of Ricky's show. 92% audience score, 14% from the Tomato Meter reviewers, the professional smear merchants, like Nish himself. Well, that's a lot of damage right there. When do you identify as a good comedian? Don't have to. That's why. You do, though, don't you, Nish? Otherwise, well, what else are you doing?
Even flex tape can't fix that score.
No, if we go to the next one here, we have, for people who don't know Nish Kumar, here's a man most well known at this point for being so bad a comedian that he just gets bread thrown at him. So you've got Ricky, round of applause. Nish, literally the guy having food thrown at him and people yelling, get off the stage, you suck. And he's like, oh my God, they're so bad at being a comedian. And you're the one who's bad at being a comedian. But you're also bad at being a decent human being, frankly, if you believe in trans ideology. I mean, we showed previously the story, just in this segment, about the sex in prison. But if we go to the next one, we then have something, frankly, I'd find just as equally disgusting. This from the BBC, because, yeah, of course it's the BBC. We have to talk about rape. Why else would the BBC exist? So they altered gender in trans rape claim, the headline reads. The BBC changed the testimony of a rape victim after a debate over pronouns of her transgender attacker, the Times has learned. A woman came and told them about a rape that happened, and they were like, respect the pronouns, please.
And that's literally...
Her penis.
Yeah,
that's the sketch.
That's
Ricky
literally
Gervais'
the joke.
That is Ricky Gervais' joke about trans ideology.
What if he rapes you? Wait, sorry, she rapes you.
And the BBC brought into it hook, line, and sinker. This is what Nish Kumar's defending in here, which is don't believe Well, rape victims. Why? Because her penis. It's her penis that raped you. An anonymous participant told researchers, quote, I was too young to argue, and I had been brainwashed by queer theory so that he was a woman. Even if every fiber of my being was screaming throughout, so I agreed to go home with him. He used physical force when I changed my mind upon seeing his penis, and he raped me. So someone who believed the man was a woman because of queer theory, and then got to the bedroom and went, hang on a sec, that's a cock. Big shock, I'm sure, if you had been living in reality land, and then got raped by him, not her, obviously, because it's his penis. The BBC article replaced every reference to he or him with they or them. A source said the quote was subject to a heated debate prior to publication. Some journalists argued that the quote should remain intact, called journalists, whereas the smear merchants said that it should reflect the trans woman's preferred she-her pronouns. And then they came to the compromise of they, which again doesn't even work because that's plural. But
This is
whatever.
just depressing.
But there you have it. The Ricky Gervais joke was 100% true and came true in real time as the media lost their minds over it. They claim that the BBC's 14-strong central diversity team had influence over the style guide, making suggestions to boost inclusive language. There you have it. That's what Nish Kumar's defending. The diversity team turning up and saying, you were raped, but it was by a woman. It's her penis. The Ricky Gervais joke really happened in the BBC's, editorial room in real time as all this was coming out. But I thought we'd also just mention some other stuff in the world of comedy. If we go to the next one here, we have Andrew Doyle's article in relation to all this, which is Ricky Gervais doesn't punch down, and that's obviously true. Like, the intersectionals run all the institutions and the political parties in power, so yeah, punching up against our overlords, the boog lords of the world. And there's also the fact that, it's also criminal what Ricky Gervais has done. He's not just fighting back against ideology. He's not just fighting back against political parties. He's fighting against the law itself. If we go to the next one here, we have a barrister warning that, he broke the law. Comics making trans jokes could be criminalized under a new strategy, barrister warns. A barrister warns telling jokes about trans people, like Ricky Gervais in his most recent show, could be criminalized if a new Home Office plan is put into place. Obviously, that this is already kind of true, but we'll get back to that. It's a new strategy to be published shortly, with a Home Office minister saying it will, quote, set out steps to increase the reporting of all forms of hate crime, including hate crimes targeting sexual orientation or transgender identity. Hate crimes including jokes and words that don't hurt anyone. They will see perpetrators accused of non-crime hate instances, which are recorded onto police systems. It comes after the Court of Appeal ruled that the College of Policing's guidance telling forces to record incidents believed to be motivated by a hostility or prejudice against a person. The non-crime hate instances violated the European Convention on Human Rights. Yeah, so the British police were literally breaking the human rights of British citizens, even by European standard, which is low, let's be honest. And the courts overruled that, so then the Home Office has just decided to legalise it instead, in law. Fantastic. A Home Office spokesman has hit back at all this, saying these claims are completely wrong. There are no plans to expand recording of non-crime hate instances, nor will we criminalise comedians. Sod off, you already do.
I don't believe you.
No, they say that our approach will ensure that police are focusing their resources on serious and harmful hate crimes, such as violent assaults or attacks on places of worship. Bollocks. Just obvious bollocks, because we live in this country, we know what you're like. We've had you for years. Home Office. If we go to the next one here, we can see the story of the fact that, Priti Patel even had to go out of her way to enforce the police, or tell the police, that they should stop wasting their time on this. And then when you leave them alone for 5 minutes, they're going to go back to their old habits of arresting people for handing out carrier bags in a homophobic manner. If we go to the next one, though, we have, of course, that Priti Patel has also had to warn them about, can you please record the race of the rapists? Because I'm trying to collect data on who's doing the rapes, and the police just for the last 20-odd years have just ignored her and everyone else who's been in the Home Office because they're not interested. And then if we go to the next one here, we have, of course, the fact that it's also a crime already. What Ricky Gervais did just is a crime. It's just a luck that he isn't being charged, frankly, because if they tried, then the law would be dead in the water. This is an article saying, is it illegal to insult Captain Tom? You may remember the old man who did some walks, and then his family screwed him over. Let's not go into that. There was an old saying, of course, which is the only good Indian is a dead Indian, from an American general, which, American generals back in the day. And so a Scottish man decided to replace that with Brit, of course, And then he was charged with a crime, Section 127, Communications Act, 2003. Yeah, remember, that's the Nazi pug law.
While I do disavow what this man said and think that it's ridiculously disrespectful and insulting, I don't think he should have been arrested for that.
It's ethnic banter, frankly, even if, in the case of Captain Tom, some Scot thinks the only good Brit is a dead Brit. Funnily enough, that includes yourself, Mr. Scott, because
so you live on the island of Britain, so
doesn't even make sense. But if we go to the next one here, we have the fact, of course, that this is the pug story as well. The fact that it's the same law. So yes, frankly, what Ricky Gervais did is a crime. It's just the fact that the British cops don't have the balls to try it because they know they'll lose when it actually gets to the courts. Because, well, people can rally around Ricky Gervais, but people like Count Dankula, the system is far too skittish to dare defend someone who's such a rogue. But speaking of Pugman, I thought I'd just end this off on a little segment about the fact that he got a fight recently with someone who is a moron. So we have Otto English here saying that in relation to the shooting and the gun ban in the UK. In the UK, we banned handguns and high-powered rifles after a close shooting in 1996. As a result of these events, we don't have these events going on anymore in the UK. Someone pointed out the bleeding obvious, which is, we still have the fact that the British state has become tyrannical in response to all that. Comedians get arrested for jokes.
Wait, did this person not realise what they were doing when they asked this question?
Mr. English here presumably doesn't know where he lives. And he responded with being like, well, can you name me 3 examples of comedians get arrested for telling a joke?
You only want 3? We can go on for a while.
Count Dankula is definitely one. I can't remember her name now, but the autistic girl in Liverpool who quoted song lyrics got arrested because the song lyrics were from an American rapper and therefore had the dreaded N-word inside. And she was arrested and then fined and also given a curfew. There's that one. And then there are literally thousands of other cases with Section 127, not to mention anywhere else.
And we could even just mention that 4,000 a year, according to John.
Yeah, I remember putting an FOI request to the Ministry of Justice, and that's what they told me. If we go forward, we can go to the next one. It's just Otto being like, no, Count Dankula is not a comedian. Right? Says he's some twat on Twitter. Okay, and I love Dankula's response to this. I love how you have moved from completely denying reality instead of just admitting that comedians have in fact been arrested in the UK for jokes, and you were just wrong. You were that kid who stomped and screamed in Asda when your mum told you to put back the Lego box, weren't you? Yeah, it's a good put down.
Yeah, it's all right.
And then we have Otto saying, well, I have to say, and quite seriously here, having met your followers online tonight, I genuinely pity you. Saddest bunch of fans I've encountered in 12 years on the site. And Dankula's response, well, I haven't met any of yours, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere. They don't exist.
Oof.
Leftists don't have fans, let's be frank. And then if we go to the next one here, we just have the cope. Just cope harder. You're not a comedian. Okay. Who cares what your opinion is on this? Like, here's all my comedy shows, you moron. And also, if we tie it back to Ricky Gervais also being one of the good guys because he actually defended Count Dankula at the time, saying a man has been convicted in the UK court for making a joke that's been deemed grossly offensive. If you don't believe in a person's right to say things he might find grossly offensive, then you don't believe in freedom of speech. And this is also true of Ricky's current show. And frankly, do be a bit rude, but frankly, I do actually look forward to the police trying it on with him. I'd love to see them try and send him down for breaking the law in the UK, for daring to put out a joke that said, her penis.
I'd just love to see what jokes he comes out with after it.
Yeah, as well.
That would be a fantastic stand-up set.
But speaking of...
make it happen,
British comedians as well, which is the fact that if you want to go see this non-comedian, you certainly can at the Roast of Count Dankula on July 13th.
Hey.
I know it's a bit of a weird plug, but I thought I'd do it just because it's funny, if nothing else, to piss off Otto English, because screw him. But there you are. There's the tickets. You've got the July 13th date, which will be somewhere, I believe it's in London. Is that correct, John? Backyard Comedy Club is where it's going to be, so there it is.
Don't be fooled by the image. You will have to bring your own book fast.
Otherwise, that's that. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Contemplation series, this one on why sex is binary. And if you want to follow what else Josh is putting out, you can follow him on Getter at @Josh_firm on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.